Hello, mic test, mic test. Looks to be working from my end. So, hello guys, and welcome to our trading opportunities webinar series. This is Nirav, and before we proceed, let's have a very quick introduction for those of you who are joining in for the first time. So, let me just bring up. So, first of all, regarding this webinar, this is what we call the Trading Opportunities webinar series. We are currently in the 123rd edition of it. As the name actually suggests, we just discuss major markets and check live trading opportunities in them. And continuing doing so, we have so far captured a total of 306 trades, which were discussed live in front of you guys within these webinars, including 5 trades which were discussed in our last webinar. So basically, all the setups we discussed in the last webinar have worked out. We will, of course, look at all that as we proceed with the webinar itself, right? And thank you for the confirmation in the chat, Rockford and Matthew. And so far, last thing is with this webinar series, we conduct this live every Friday, and the time always is 2 p.m. GMT or 7:30 p.m. IST. So whichever time zone you are in, just convert it accordingly so that if you want to join in live and see those discussions as the market is actually moving, right, to get the most out of it. Right. Before that, we proceed with the 123rd edition a little bit more. First of all, as you can see over here on the top, I'm also the author of the book Think with the Markets. It's available on Amazon's Kindle edition. You can check further details by either visiting Amazon or checking the link here, where we also have a separate private webinar available regarding this book. Right. And much more importantly, if you are new to Elliott Wave and do not know what we discuss here, the concepts of Elliott Wave, the basics, then I highly advise you to check out the course, The Complete Guide to Professional Trading with Elliott Wave, our video course on Elliott Wave. It is also available as a small free edition with the basic content. For that, you can use the link in the description of the video, or just go to 50eyes.com/v, where you will find a bunch of videos, selected 13 videos from the course, which will give you a basic outlook. So, in case you are not interested in making the actual serious investment, you will at least be able to make sense of the discussions we do in these webinars. And lastly, more importantly, we have kept a track record of everything being said over the years in these webinars and videos which are uploaded on YouTube. And as you can see, we have a very elaborate track record with the dates, instrument names, what was being said, what happened, etc., all mentioned here. And we have had an exceptional accuracy of 80% plus over all these years, right? And after this, we started doing a weekly webinar series where we have a track record of 306 trades so far, right? The reason for showing that is that this is a public record and it stands much higher than industry standards for 6 consecutive years. So that's that. Yeah, lastly, one more thing before we proceed. We will be starting our new series of trading program LT batch. For those interested in the July batch, can make the inquiry here by visiting the link 50s.com/training program LT. And do keep in mind there is a requirement here that you need to know the basics of Elliott Wave. So you basically should have gone through our video course. So anybody who has enrolled in this video course and completed it is eligible for this batch. With that being said, I would now like to proceed with our discussions. And before actually discussing the market, here is a sequence with which we will be going through in this webinar. First of all, we'll discuss the chart of Euro USD, followed by crude oil, gold, S&P, Nifty, and in the end, we will check out Bitcoin. Right. So here is our first chart. Before discussing the actual chart, let's check what was being said in our last webinar on Euro USD. So let's zoom in and check. So this is our main hypothesis in the last webinar. The idea was that we are expecting an A, B, C correction, and in which we were expecting that this wave B was possibly a triangle. Right. The only time where we would say that this is not behaving as a triangle was if the market tried to go higher than this level or sustain above this trend line. Right. And the price at our last discussion, which was done on 5th of July, was 1.08158. Now let's very quickly head over and check the actual chart here on screen. So here's the actual chart. Now here is the discussion which we were doing in the last webinar, and let me just show you the trend line. So as you can see, the trend line has been breached, and the expectation is that we are expecting a break of this higher level as well. That is to say, we expect that this level of 1.09130 may soon take a breakout, or yeah, I think breakout is the appropriate word here. So we may see something like this. That will be the most ideal scenario, in which case we will look for longs once the market comes back to the trend line. Second possibility is that it may just take off straight off. So what I would like to do is add minor positions here and look to add more if the market gives a pullback. So this is our strategy for euro. We look for longs above the marked level of 1 second 1.09164, right? So we look for longs above this level with the strategy to add only partial positions and then add more as the market pulls back to this trend line. Counts remain the same. From this point, we are expecting that we are seeing perhaps A up, B down, and C up kind of a correction. Could be more complex, could be more simple, but it doesn't matter. We are still expecting this leg up in whichever the case may be. We can look for targets, but I think the minimum target is more than enough. Minimum target will be that we expect this market to take out the high of A, which is 1.09824. Right. So that's our main theme or main way of discussing this chart of Euro USD. And yes, those guys who are live in our chat during the broadcast, do let me know if you have any doubts or questions regarding this particular discussion. And also give me a moment while I check our second feed, which is actually live on LinkedIn, and see how it is really going. So give me a few moments here while I check that out. It does look like this event will start soon. Wait for the host. What's happening here? It looks like our LinkedIn feed is not working for some reason. How's that? Hmm. Wait a moment, guys. In that case, let me just share this detail over on LinkedIn and see what's the actual matter. By the way, those who are live in the chat, kindly do let me know if you can actually hear me and see the stream, which we are currently doing here on YouTube at least. I'll wait for a few responses. That is weird. So yes, let's get back with our discussions here. And I don't know what the issue is, but it does not look like the stream is going live at both platforms. Some technical problems. Hopefully, they might get resolved by itself, or if not, I'll just check out in the next webinar. So without making any more delays, let's now head over and check more charts. Let me just very quickly see the chart of crude oil now from our last discussion. And let's see where crude oil was being discussed during our last webinar. Somewhere here we were discussing, I guess. Let the video play out so that we can actually check out the precise location. Yes, so this was a setup here. We were looking for a diagonal play and we were in the last leg, which basically suggested that scalp longs were possible. And my idea was to look for wave C breaking above 84.64 for a little bit higher movement or a little bit upside movement. This was not a very big play. I was only expecting a minor leg up and hence the scalp setup. And as such, this has literally played out. Now on screen we have the live chart. Let's look at the discussion from last webinar before we proceed with our live counts. So here you can see this is where we discussed the price in the last webinar on 5th July. Market then shot up, and as you guys recall, I said very clearly that this is more or less a scalp play. We are not looking for anything huge, and this is exactly what happened. The market did give a small move above the last high of 84.64, and that was a very, very short lived move. It's not like you could have made a lot of points here or even possibly exited here if you did not have the foresight of knowing that this is the kind of position you exit on market orders, preset market orders, trigger based. Anyways, so our last analysis on CL has played out picture perfectly. Now we want to look at the current chart or the current data. So let's look at it on this 1 hour time frame. My view right now is that possibly this market is giving a bullish movement still. One more important thing to keep in mind is this dotted red trend line. This is a long term support trend line basically. So it is vitally important that the market sustains above this level, right? So here the market has gone a little bit below the trend line, but overall it was able to come up and then take support as well. So we will still call the setup of bullish activity as valid. And I personally would like to take some long entries or consider long entries above 83.92. Actually, technically speaking, it should be above 84.46, but build up of the positions can start above 83.92. That's my understanding on this counter. And the count remains from this point of reference, which is the starting point of this analysis. Count remains that we have a diagonal in play for a one and then a wave two, possibly complete, continuing, whatever the case may be. So basically, we are looking for more upside, and it is also possible that this market sustains a little bit within this range, come back and test that red trend line which we have just tested over here again before taking the upward flight. So more or less crude oil we look for long trading opportunities with the idea kept in mind that wave 2 can suggest one more pullback to the support line, which is this dotted red trend line, right? So with that being said, I don't think there is much to add here. So I'll just look at the comments. If there's anything being asked specifically, we'll check that. Otherwise, we'll move over to our next charts. Rockford there confirming about the audio. Hi Aditya. Hello Matthew. Thank you for the confirmation, guys, and good morning to you, Luis. Right. So now that we have discussed CL, let's now move over to gold XAU USD chart, which again had a very nice setup, which literally played out as per our analysis. Let's see what was being said in our last webinar on gold. Here it is. Let's check that somewhere around here. Yes, that is appropriate. Hmm. So this is where we discussed gold in our last webinar. The whole discussion was a bit lengthy one. So if you are interested in the complete thing, I suggest you check the webinar yourselves. But the main theme of the discussion was that we were looking for a possible diagonal in the upward direction for this possible corrective formation, A down, B up, and there will be possible follow down for C. The price at the time of doing the webinar on 5th July was 2381 on this ticker. And now let's look at the current chart. So this is 2381 over here roughly, and 5th July is over here. So we were somewhere over here when we discussed this market, and the idea was that possibly we have a diagonal structure, and this was again followed through in our private Slack group, and the setups were even discussed in further details. We had 1 second here, gold. Yes, this is gold. Yes. So we were following this count as you can see here with these charts 2380 and then following the arrows, etc., etc., faster than expected. And then this was the next leg up above 2400, which we were expecting this market will give. And then it gave a sudden rush up faster than expected, which was basically the undoing of the diagonal pattern and suggestion that this may be now a impulse in itself. So let me discuss that in detail. What I believe is that from this point of reference, around the price level of 2292, we may possibly be seeing a impulse in the upward direction. So for those of you not very familiar, an impulse is basically a play of 5 moves roughly, which looks like this as I've just drawn on the right hand side, in which the waves 2 and 4 are in the downward direction, which does look to be the case here. We have the wave 2 here, downward direction, and the 3 is currently continuing. The wave 3 will have 5 waves of itself within it. So we will have 1 up here, 2 down here, 3, 4, and 5. I think even that 3 is still continuing. So I won't get into too much detail, but I personally think that at least 2 legs up are remaining from the current price of 2410. And I will personally look to play this long side with at least one long, if not taking the both legs, then at least one upside leg. Because as you guys know, I always say, even if we are wrong, the chances of us being completely wrong are quite low because we are expecting 2 legs up. So at least one can be played out by the market. So my personal play would be to look for scalp longs above 2417, and perhaps if we get some clear pullback, then maybe again once we see break of the next high. So with that being said, gold, we expect that this correction is either continuing as a complex from this point of reference, that is, it is becoming possibly a WXY. So it will possibly give a down leg before the final up move. Or second possibility is that this correction is already complete, perhaps over here or over here, right? We have 2 3 variations of these counts, so I'm not going to discuss any of them in very detailed way right now because that will take more time than we have here. But if this correction is complete, we again don't have much to think about it. It will just give a stronger bull move and minor pullbacks and continue going up. So long story short, short term wise, I am looking for bullish setups, and long term wise, we do have one bullish setup, and the other is, let me change the color here, that one leg up and then at least 2 legs or so up and then down. So both counts are suggesting short term bullishness. With that being said, we don't have anything else to add to this count. If you are looking or possibly having some doubts on this or the charts which we have discussed just now based on the analysis of Elliott Wave, then you can just let me know in the live chat right now. Hmm. Okay, so I don't see any doubts or questions. So we'll now move over to the next chart. And yes, guys, again, for those of you who are joining in for the first time or have been following these webinars, if you are liking the content, do make sure to hit the like button, and much more importantly, do not forget to share this content with your friends or colleagues so that we can get a much higher reach than we are getting these days. It's always important to have new participants coming in and seeing the hard work we put up. Right. Lastly, those of you who have completed the video course and are interested in taking the next step can always come back and make the inquiries for the training program LT, as I discussed in the starting of the video. If you have missed it, you can make your inquiries via following this link for our upcoming July batch. With that being said, let's now head over to our other charts, specifically S&P. But again, as always, let's have a look at what was being said in the last webinar. See, yeah, that's about does it. So here is the chart from our last webinar's discussion or last webinar's recording, I shall say. And what we are seeing here is, one second, guys. Let me check what link should we use to promote. So good question, Rockford. If you want to promote, you can just use this YouTube share button here from this current webinar. This is the 123rd webinar, so you can click on live and then click on share and get the link for this webinar, right? Secondly, you can also share the website because every webinar is again posted on 50eyes.com. So you can scroll at the bottom. The 123rd webinar will be posted in a few minutes after its completion. So you can just open that web page and copy that link as well. So both of them work more or less the same thing. So whatever is comfortable to you, kindly do that. And thank you for that. Okay, so now let's head over to our discussion. As I was saying, this is the discussion from last webinar S&P 500. I was expecting that this market is now going for new highs. The price was around 5548, and as you can expect, this one also did hit the mark. Right now on screen, we do have the chart of S&P's 500, and this was 5th July somewhere here. This is where we discussed this market in our last webinar, somewhere here. Yeah, somewhere here. So this is somewhere we discussed the market, and as you guys already know, it did go up precisely as per our analysis. By the way, guys, keep in mind what I am showing here from this recording is just a point of the analysis where we have concluded the count, sort of. If you want, you should actually check the whole thing, which starts around 25 and goes till 30 something, because generally there are multiple points which I will not cover in every single webinar. So if you want a complete information, I suggest you go through each of these webinars, last one and last to last one, at least follow 2 3 webinars on a regular basis, so that you get the counts and how we are doing things. Anyways, since the market has gone up, we were able to capture this whole leg up. I was long on S&P and was able to exit nicely here. Let's see, where's that auto close at 5620. 1 second here. Yes, re-entered longs, and before that booked profit on longs, which is added more longs. So we had multiple trades on S&P, as you can see here. I'll just like to quickly show where's my added minor longs. Let's see, here it is. So our initial entry is around 5564 on July the 5th, and then exit 5585. Not a very huge profit. Re-entry 5593. And then exit from 5593 to 5620. That was a good chunk of move which we captured, and actually hit our targets at 5620. So I actually exited here. So these were the some of the trades which were all captured in our live Slack group. Again, the details for that is also scrolling at the bottom of your screen in case you are interested. Now coming back to the current chart, here's the possibility that we are looking for further upward movement here. Let me squeeze this chart up a little bit so that I can show you what I'm thinking is possibly happening here. So we do have our 1 here, the 2 here, and let me see if that fits in. So we are assuming the 3 here. However, when I draw it now, it does look like it has one more leg remaining and the 3 might be somewhere there. But anyways, it doesn't matter. It's a strong bull trend that's expected to happen. We will have nested formations of multiple of these wave structures. So again, I will have to redo the whole count, but the bigger picture remains the same. This is of wave 4 of some degree, and we expect that this high of the last wave 3 will be taken out, which is the high of 5663. So higher levels than this are expected here. Let me see if we have some higher level targets here. We do not have anything marked. However, I have important supports marked here, which is 5582 and 5531. So it is seemingly taking support at the first level, which is kind of important. If the market is taking support at a lower level like 5530, then that is also suggestive that possibly something else may be going on. So we are currently okay with this bull trend. This is a strong bull trend. This is what this support level is suggesting, right? So again, as always, if it's a strong bull trend, we just look for breakout trades, and there's nothing special about breakout trades. You trade the break of the last high or near the last high, and conversely, you can add some minor positions here. Let's say 1/10, 2/10 of the position here, and then add more. If the market goes down, you add more. If it goes up and takes out this high, you add more. So on and so forth, you can build up. Not gonna go into much details about all that. long story short, we look for long plays above 5644. Possibility of this market going sideways are there. So these are going to be kind of swing longs rather than scalp or very short term. And the market taking this low is possible, but right now I do not see any evidence. So we'll just say that within the range of 5663 to 5578, roughly speaking, the market can propagate before taking off for new highs. So that's about it for our discussion on S&P. If you guys have any doubts or questions, just post them in the live chat before we move over to the last two charts of Nifty 50 followed by BTC, Bitcoin. So let me see if there's anything in the comments. Perfect as always. Thank you for the nice comment, Aditya. Right, so I don't see any doubt or anything of that sort here in the live chat. So let's now proceed with our next chart of Nifty 50, which is here on screen now. But yes, as always, instead of looking at the chart first, let's look at the discussion from our last webinar, which is somewhere over here. Hmm. So here is the recording from our last webinar where we were discussing the chart of Nifty 50, and our main idea was that this market is still having a strong intact uptrend. As a matter of fact, there were two possibilities. If I zoom in, the idea was it can go sideways and then up, or give a minor leg down and then up. And basically, in both cases, we were looking for a long on breakout above 24389, as you can see with this alert. You can check the whole chart for further details. But I did mention very clearly it's a strong uptrend, so there isn't much to point out in respects to trading. I did give us some idea about the sector rotation, which has actually played out. Over my analysis basically suggested that money movement in the pharma sector was there, and if you are following it even a little bit, you can see strong movements in those stocks already. And we were of course following the stocks in our Slack group as well. But anyways, here is our current count. I'm not going too much in detail about the past data here, but just looking at this chart from the point of reference around what is this 24142, we are assuming that this market is heading up as a possible impulse, right? And a possible impulse means we will have at least five waves. So we are looking for a movement in the third wave. Generally, it is the strongest wave. So I'm assuming it's not complete, but is going to give a break above 24592, which is the last high, roughly speaking, right? And the setup is very clear. If on pullback, we want to continue looking for long opportunities. On breakout, we want to enter market buys and remain cautious. If the market goes below 24336, close the positions at once and look to enter later on, because below that level it is possible that this market is doing something else, because then the main theme of the count gets invalidated, right? So look for longs on pullback, breakout longs with market orders, cautious invalidation level, and let me get exact 24331, this low basically, right? So as I said, nothing much to add here, and that's about it for our quick talk on Nifty 50. Again, those of you who are live, if you have any doubts, you can just post them in the live chat. Otherwise, we now would like to move over to our last chart of BTC. Let's see. Somewhere here around, we were discussing the important update in this count. Let's see, somewhere here maybe. Yes. So here is the last discussion on our chart of Bitcoin, where our analysis suggested that this market is going to possibly consolidate and stay around resistance level 55973 or 57466. Now little bit different outlook has played out. So let's look at the chart, keeping in mind the last resistance was 57466. So now on screen we have the chart of BTC, and this is the level of 5746 is this yellow line. Let me just extend it. So as you already know, the idea was that this market is going to take a resistance here and then reverse. It seemingly has not played out very well, and this market is continuing with its upward thrust much higher than 5746 is. So we have now an updated view, and then the updated view is basically suggesting that possibly this market is in a diagonal formation. I'm not going to go in too much detail about the last part. It is a bit of a complex count. So we'll just discuss it from here, and I'll just show you what I'm really suggesting. So a diagonal count basically means this is a particularly expanding diagonal kind of structure where the market will give first leg as wave 1, corrective pullback as 2, next leg as wave 3, pullback as 4, which goes in the price territory of wave 1. As you can see, 4 and 1 are overlapping, and then another leg down. So this is our 1, this is our 2, and here is the 4 and 1 overlap. That is why I have changed the counts to a diagonal. And it is possible it has one more leg remaining before it gives the next leg down, or it can also go straight forward down. So overall, we do expect some bearishness if this count is correct. We expect the market to show some downward movement, taking it lower at least below 53557, which is the last low. And I particularly would not be interested in taking shorts right away, rather than look for some weakness and look for short plays only below 55490, which will be our what you call short trigger. So this is the way we expect this market to continue. Look for shorts below only 55490 once we see some sort of weakness within this counter on this diagonal count, right? So that's about it for our analysis on these major markets which we cover in these webinars. If you like the content, again, do not forget to hit the like button, share the webinar, most importantly, even more important than hitting the likes. And of course, lastly, if you are interested in more of this stuff, more of our updates, you can always join in the Slack group. Or if you are a student in the video course, you can look up for information on our July batch for training program LT. In case you missed the links, the request details for private Slack group, you can check the link at the bottom of the screen. It's still scrolling. And as for the training program LT, you can send your requests by visiting this link 50hours.com/training program LT. With that being said, thank you for staying till the end, those who did. And what I do hope is to see more of you guys in the next webinar. Take care. See you soon.